Hi, Oslo.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. Today I'm gonna make you some questions about from the 1940s to nowadays.
Okay,
Like even if you were not born, maybe you know like some story that someone told you.
yes.
And if there's a question that you don't want to answer, you just
Right,
don't have
I'll
to.
say, I don't know.
The World War II had like many atomic bombs, and it was like a new thing.
Yes.
Were you like kind of scared because of that?
We used to practice, this was
Yeah.
in the 1950s, that I
Mhm.
was not living in that
Mhm.
time, but in the 1950s, just like today, you practice a fire drill or a tornado drill. We practiced an atomic bomb drill.
Wow.
And what we did was the teacher would close the curtains and we would get underneath our desks
Mhm.
and we would cover our heads. Like that was really going to save us from an atomic bomb blast. But that was what we did for
Yeah,
atomic bomb drills.
Okay. In the 1950s, it was the time where like TV went like from being black and white to like have color. Was like a big difference.
The wealthy people were
Yeah.
the first ones to get the color TVs. And so we had a very small TV screen. It was maybe the size of a basketball.
Mhm.
And we would all sit very close and watch it. And I don't remember exactly when my parents got a color TV, because we were probably one of the last people to get it. So I would go to my girlfriend, Mary Ann Brashad was my girlfriend, her dad was a doctor. They got a color TV, and I remember when they got a color TV because it was one of the first, and all of her friends would go over and watch I Love Lucy and different programs on the color TV.
Yeah, I can imagine it was like really exciting.
Yes, it was.
Like because we're not used to like, obviously we've seen black and white film, but
Right.
not more. The 1970s, it was when like the first phones, like personal phones.
Yes.
And it was like a really big change.
They were big.
Yeah.
The first phone, it was called a bag phone.
Uh-huh.
And it was this big, and you kept it in a bag. And I don't remember how you charged it, but it was quite interesting and quite cumbersome. Was not easy to use. But yeah, that was pretty exciting.
It was like a big change, right? Like
Oh,
from
yes.
having one at home.
Because now the biggest thing at home were answering machines.
Yeah.
And that was a great lifesaver because you could miss the phone call, come
And you can
home
answer.
and play it back on your answering machine. So, but
That would be nice, though.
yes, then the phones you could carry with you. We thought, oh, that's even better than having to
Yeah.
play the answering
Do
machine.
you have one?
I still have the bag phone, yes. I don't know why I didn't get rid of it. I don't keep a lot of stuff, but it was funny looking.
Do you remember, like, was it expensive?
I don't remember. My husband bought it, and it probably wasn't too much, but I don't remember the price.
Like, it was really popular, like, everyone had one?
No,
Or
no.
it was just like,
and
Some
they
people.
didn't last real long. I think that they started getting smaller pretty quickly, and so this was so big and so
yeah, I
cumbersome.
mean, that was like the first one, but
Yeah.
now they're like,
And yes, and who wants to carry this bag around with you that's got a phone in it? So,
Okay, were you a fan of the Beatles?
oh yeah.
And do you remember, like, the assassination of, like, John Lennon? Did it, like, I mean, not affect you, but, like, shock
Right,
you?
yes. My husband saw the Beatles when they came to Atlanta and played in the stadium. I didn't have enough money, so he was older than I, and he went to see that before we were together. But yes, my favorite, however, were the Rolling Stones, that we've seen them in concert repeatedly, the Grateful Dead, the Eagles, so yeah, into all of that. You don't want me to sing.
Okay. In these years too, the first Apple Macintosh, but now would be like a Mac, like what we have now, was created. Like, I can imagine before you didn't have one in a class, but like as a teacher, was it like a big change? Because now it's like, you cannot imagine having a class
Oh, I
without
can
like,
imagine. Yes, from the time I'm dyslexic.
Okay.
I've never been able to type because my fingers don't go where I want them to go. So it's difficult for me to use a computer, and when I try to make the little arrow go places, I have a hard time doing that. You know, you've been in my
Yeah.
class, it's like, what's she doing? So when they first came out, what I decided to do was ignore them.
Yeah.
And call on friends to do things for me. I have had to since then learn how to do things
Yeah.
on my own, but I've never been a big fan of a lot of technology because of my dyslexia.
Was it a big thing in the United States?
Oh, yeah.
Because, for example, where I live, like they arrived later, but like I guess here it was like a huge change.
The first use in schools was to keep attendance and to collect resources. So folders, collect files of different things that you could pull up and print off and
Yeah.
share with your students.
I mean, I guess it has evolved. Like now we use
Oh,
it like
yeah.
for everything.
Right, you can just take out your phone and see
Yeah.
whatever it is that I have saved for you to look at.
In the 2000s, sorry, it was the 11S attack. How, like, do you remember when you saw that on like the news?
Which one?
11S, the New
Yeah,
York.
yes, I was at school and it was my planning period, and the history teacher came running down and said, turn on your TV, something's going on. And I watched both planes live hit the towers
Yeah.
and the towers fall. And the one thing that has stayed with me and I still have nightmares about are the people jumping
From the,
to their death.
Yeah.
And they only showed it for one morning, the morning it happened. After that, the news stations decided they were not ever going to show that again. But I saw people choose to jump to their death rather than be burned to death in the towers.
It's horrible.
So yeah, it was horrible, but it brought the country together, and that was the last time the country's been brought together, I think.
And were you like scared in some way that could happen like again here?
Well, suddenly you were patted down at the airport. I mean, there were all sorts of different things put in place to protect you that we never would have put up with before this. But now the government can wand you at the airport and check you and check your bags and all of this. So I wasn't particularly afraid. It's just nothing that I'd be afraid of.
Okay, so like after this, the security in here was like really like stronger, would you say? Like,
Yeah.
Do you agree with what they made?
Yeah, I think there was more unity in the country. Yeah, after that, because we all had a common enemy, even though we weren't sure who the enemy was, but we all had the same focus.
Okay. In the 2010, with the COVID pandemic that is like really fresh, have you feel any change like in the environment?
I just choose not to be afraid of things that I can't control, and there's no way I can control COVID. I can be vaccinated. I'm vaccinated and boosted. I try to be cautious about going into places, and it's just the way the world is now. So
Did you had COVID?
No.
You're lucky.
I know, and I'm an old lady, so I thought, I'm going to take my chance and I'm going to be at school, and so I was, and my children say that I'm too mean to get it, that the virus goes, woo, leave her alone.
Yeah, there's some people that say like, for it to it's never gonna like end because it's like the flu. It's just that we have to be used to it.
Yeah.
But do you think like everyone will go through it like at some point?
Probably, and it's all different serious levels of it. So, I could have had it and not even known about it. It's just be smart, and there's medicine now. Get vaccinated if you can. If you think you have it, get tested if you do have it. Take the Pfizer medicine now for it.
Mhm.
There's no reason to be more afraid of it. I lived during polio in the 1950s. That at my school, the doctors came and gave every one of us a shot when the vaccine was discovered. And, you know, this is just part of the 2020s. It's okay.
Yeah. So you're not like scared of
No.
COVID? It's something that
I've
is gonna
taught
be
school
there.
for 40 years. Don't nothing scare me. So, yeah, I'm okay.
Are you